Toastmasters, and welcome to the Disney Toastmaster Podcast. I'm Melissa.
And I'm Kyle. Welcome to the next part of our Kungaloosh series. Today we discuss Part 2, Pleasure Island.
Throughout this series, we'll be unraveling the connections between the Dumbo ride, Disney characters enjoying a drink on screen, and the now vanished Pleasure Island from Downtown Disney.
Join me as your Toastmaster for a night on the Downtown Disney as we chat about the history and impacts of the long-gone Pleasure Island.
So, raise your glass and let's tie one on as we bar hop across Pleasure Island, where every night is New Year's Eve celebration that spills out onto the streets.
We're going to talk a little bit about Pleasure Island.
Pleasure Island.
Pleasure Island. Of course, the reason...
From Pinocchio. We're going to the Pinocchio movie, right?
Well, I don't even know if I really even touched on the Pinocchio movie, but the Pleasure Island, of course, is from the Pinocchio movie where, you know, Pinocchio and almost gets turned into a donkey or a mule, and but they went for Pleasure Island for their adult-themed entertainment place in 1989 when it opened.
Had nothing to do with Pinocchio, but that's what they named it.
Nothing.
Which was the biggest surprise to me.
They're like, this is a good name.
I mean, it was a perfect name, but I had no idea that they didn't take their existing IP and say, this is what we're building it off of.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. What was I'm trying to think of, I mean, it's been a while since I've seen Pinocchio, but I remember there's pool, there's cigars.
Candy for lunch.
Candy for lunch. There's a place where you can just go fight, I think you can just go break whatever you want.
Yeah, you can break stuff.
That's like a thing now. Like, there's like rooms that you can go to.
I've always wanted to try one.
Yeah, me too. That's like a Pleasure Island thing.
See?
Yeah. They would have been ahead of their time.
I mean, but then there's also turning you into an animal and forced slavery. So maybe that was why Disney wouldn't want to do that.
No. Well, you know what? They're like, you know what? I like the vibe of Jessica Rabbit a little bit more.
Which I do love me. Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Let's go, Roger Rabbit. Pulled out the VHS. I mean, it's so good. There's little bits of Roger Rabbit here and there in Disney World and at Hollywood Studios now, and then there's still the ride at
there is
Disney
California.
Yeah, but man, I could just go for some more Roger Rabbit in general.
Didn't they have in the old the studio tour? They used to have at MGM. Wasn't there a bunch of Roger Rabbit stuff? Like, wasn't there a section where they had like a tub of dip and they had one of the big black holes on the floor?
Yeah, something like that. Yes, there's a lot right now. I think at Hollywood Studios you can still see up above. It's over by Hollywood and Vine, where you can see an Roger Rabbit going through the blinds, where it's an outline of him above there, and it's like the detective agency or something like that, where he's been
Valiant.
through Valiant's detective agency.
Valiant. Is it Valiant? I think.
Anyways, he's been like put through the window there. It's like pretty sweet. So Pleasure Island, before we kind of go into, because I want to talk about each of the clubs, kind of what was there then, how it started, where it went before it went into Disney Springs and all that jazz. Give you a little bit of a backstory about 1989 in Walt Disney Entertainment. And the big thing there is so many things that happened in 1989. Pleasure Island opened 1989. The MGM Studios opened up in 1989. They're putting together, so Michael Eisner and Frank Wells came into the Disney company in 1984, and they wanted to change a bunch of things, and that's what they were doing. They were talking about big changes in the mid-'80s. A lot of those changes started to come together at the end of the 80s. And one of those things was to make it just not like a kiddie world. They wanted to bring in more adult-themed entertainment, and the other big thing was, too, that they really wanted to transform Walt Disney World into a place where you could be for like the whole week.
Weren't they trying to stop people from going off property?
Yes, because up until then, Disney was kind of seen as part of your Orlando vacation. So you would be like, okay, I'm going to go to Walt Disney World. I'm going to go to SeaWorld. I'm going to go to the beach. I'm going to go to Universal, all that stuff. Well, actually, not Universal. It's Universal's happening. Actually.
You go see the space shuttle.
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff.
So this is kind of like what they're talking about with that. I need to turn this. I need to turn my notifications off. Somebody said, "What are you doing, fool?"
It's a very good question.
I don't know.
I mean,
Drinking and talking about Disney. What are you doing, fool?
Kungaloo?
Kungaloosh.
I don't think that's gonna stick. That feels awkward.
It does. Oh, we didn't talk about it during our drink part, but have you ever had the Kungaloosh beer?
No, where's that?
All right, so if you go to Nomad Lounge
Okay.
and Animal Kingdom, and if you go, where's the other place? Maybe Jack Lindsay's? I think there's only two places that you can get the Kungaloosh. Oh, I think the other one's Skipper Canteen.
Okay.
And it's a spiced brown beer that is like my favorite themed Walt Disney World exclusive beer is the Kungaloosh.
Okay.
It's really good.
Yeah, I've never been to Nomad Lounge. I've eaten in the restaurant.
Oh yeah.
But we never done the lounge.
Oh, I bet you can get the beer at. I mean, it's kind of the same
restaurant.
place.
We got a nice bottle of red wine. I mean,
There you go.
We were there for a minute, so.
Yeah. No, that dinner there is amazing.
Yeah.
So anyway, you got Eisner, you got Wells.
Yep.
Coming into Walt Disney Company, trying to change some stuff, make this not into a kiddie-only sort of park. They are also trying to make it not just part of your Orlando vacation. They're trying to make this into your Orlando vacation. When you come to Disney, you're going to be at Disney the whole time. And so they have different parks opening, like MGM. They have different ticketed events and ticketed things opening. One of the water parks opened in 1989 as well. And so they have all these ticketed things. Part of Pleasure Island was also ticketed after 7 p.m. You could only get in there if you're over 18, and then there were certain clubs that you could only get into as well. But just real quick, I want to give you a quick history of things.
Typhoon Lagoon opened June 1st, 1989.
There you go. Love that we have the internet.
Ask the internet.
1989 then also. So think about that. You have 3 things that people are able to add on to their ticket and make you extend your stay.
So now what makes me, I wonder, did they also build more hotels in this time period?
I think
Because I think people were still staying off property a lot.
That's happening in the coming years after that. So that's part of the focus too.
If you build it, they will come. That kind of logic.
So you're going to see a lot of that, the things about like Disney Vacation Club, and you're going to see some of those things like the budget resorts and things like that coming too, are all coming in the next years. And that's all during that Eisner era, you know.
Which was way before Disney Adults.
Yeah, definitely.
Disney Adults showed up even though all of this is gone.
Yeah. Disney Adults were definitely there. I've got some videos I'm going to like share on here too.
I'm 100% a Disney adult. I have no shame.
There's some Disney adulting happening in some of these dance moves. I'm just gonna say, some of the dance moves that are happening in 1992.
The outfits too.
The outfits were like these leotards and like bikinis and stuff like that, just gyrating to the beats. It's pretty adult. Some of those things that were happening. So
I remember being a kid though, and there being someplace we couldn't go. And I just wanted to go there. I was like, but why? But it's, and again, at the time I thought it was Pinocchio. So I was like, well, why can't I go there?
Why can't I go there? I want to go break things and smoke cigars and play pool.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah, get in fights. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't want to do that.
There's a little bit of that. That's coming in part of the history of this, actually.
Oh, boy. Buckle up.
So Michael Eisner served as the CEO of the Walt Disney Company from 1984 to 2005, and that was like a big transformative era.
That's a long time.
It's a long time. Think about all the things that happened during that time, too. You know, you have, underneath that, you have the Disney decade, and like that Disney Renaissance era all happened during then, too. You have your Lion Kings, your Little Mermaids, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, all of that stuff kind of made Disney the big deal when it came to animation again.
Yeah.
So, big deal when it comes to that stuff. And then you think about the transformative stuff that happened at the parks. You're going from a park that is part of your day vacation to people spending a whole week just at Walt Disney World, all during that Eisner time. Big part of Michael Eisner, though, and big part of all of those things changing too, is Frank Wells. He served as the President and Chief Operating Officer, COO of the Walt Disney Company from 84 to 94. He played a crucial role alongside of the CEO, Michael Eisner, in that whole Disney decade as well. We're not going to go too much into him, Frank Wells, but there's a lot of things that he did that were bringing his expertise in some of the sports things and stuff like that coming into this as well. But he ended up actually dying in 1994 in a accident while he was skiing. So.
Well, I was just thinking, I'm kind of amazed that either of them were in their roles as long as they were. Because if you think about how many years it takes you to get into a company, to get a job, to figure out what you're doing, to work your way up the ladder all the way to the top, that takes a really, really long time. So how young, think about how young Eisner must have been when he landed there to be in that role for as long as he was.
Oh, yeah. No, it's crazy. And we talked about it a little bit off mic, but like Michael Eisner was part of our time growing up too. He was on the TV, the face of Walt Disney World at that time too.
I kind of thought when I was young, I thought he was basically Mickey Mouse the handler because he was always there.
Yeah.
Whenever you saw Mickey Mouse on a TV, Michael Eisner was standing next to him.
So part of that is that people going to Walt Disney World were going off property to do more adult things. There was an area called Church Street in downtown Orlando that was a themed sort of entertainment there that people were going to for their nightlife and things like that. So they're like, let's just do this here. Let's keep people on property and go from there. So it had a bunch of different clubs and restaurants and resorts and things like that. So it started out as the Disney... I forgot to write down the name of it. It was the Disney... Before it was Downtown Disney, it was called something else.
It was Buena Vista's shopping area, wasn't it?
Something like that.
Something Buena Vista.
Okay, so it started out, Downtown Disney had Pleasure Island, but before that, Downtown Disney was Lake Buena Vista Shopping Village, and then a couple years later, ended up being just Disney Shopping Village or whatever. And each of them had, some cool nightclubs I want to talk about. And some crazy stories behind some of the ideas and, the backstory of these two. So, the first thing I want to talk about...
There was shopping, too.
There was shopping.
Which I'm very curious, since this was adults only. I'm guessing there was no kid stuff in the shops. I'm guessing it was all adult merchandise.
So, some of it was... So, Downtown Disney was different parts. I have my Downtown Disney brochure. I have my Downtown Disney brochure from when I went for the very first time with my family in 1998. And so you have Downtown Disney is divided into different areas. One of the areas is, this is in 1998, I'm sorry. You have the West Side, Pleasure Island, and the Marketplace, all being different parts of it. So at that time, you had clubs. There was a lot of clubs and some shops and things like that, and a couple dessert snack places and things like that were inside specifically just Pleasure Island. But a lot of it was just the clubs. Mm-hmm. So you had Avigators Supply, which was connected to the Adventurers Club. And that was you could get some Adventurers Club and Avigators themed things there. You had a couple places that were kind of rotating. There was one there that was called Jessica's, She was Jessica
Just a
Rabbit.
rabbit?
Had tons of just Jessica Rabbit stuff. And just
But you buy the red dress.
right. No, yeah.
That you need glue to keep
To
on.
keep on. Yeah, yeah. And then you had, but then it would like turn into other things. So it was like, it turned into like a Dick Tracy store and things like that over the years. There was like a rotating.
I would go to a Rocketeer store today.
Yes, me too. 100%.
I mean, my husband's mostly obsessed with a Rocketeer, but that stuff would be very cool.
Yeah. So the big thing there too was the story of Pleasure Island, which was Meriwether Pleasure. What is the name of the person that started? Yes, it's a crazy story.
So think back. Think about how humans were given their names back in the early days. So someone whose last name is Farmer is a farmer. Someone whose last name is Tanner tanned hides. What did the person whose last name is Pleasure do? How did they get that as their family last name?
I can think of a couple ways.
I mean, I'm just
Yes. Okay, so I've got some of the plaques. So they had around all of Pleasure Island, they had plaques around kind of telling you the story of Pleasure Island. So one of the main plaques as you would go in, so after a certain time, it was a pay to get in sort of thing. And there was a bridge that you would cross and you'd have to pay to cross the bridge and go into Pleasure Island. And the first plaque was kind of right over there. And it says, Pleasure Island, founded in 1911. A living monument to the wise fool, the mad visionary, the scoundrel, the scallywag, and the seeker of enjoyment, Meriwether Adam Pleasure.
okay.
His
real name is Adam? Okay.
Yeah. Meriwether Adam Pleasure, who purchased the island in 1911. Pleasure's profitable canvas manufacturing / sail fabricating empire, founded on this site, provided him with the capital to indulge his lifelong interest in the exotic, the experimental, and the unexplainable.
The unexplainable.
So, known as the Grand Funmeister, Pleasure disappeared during his 1941 circumnavigation of the Antarctic. His sons, Harry and Stuart, took over the island and the Pleasure enterprises. Their management led to bankruptcy in 1955. Hurricane Connie hit that same year, and Pleasure Island was abandoned. In 1987, archaeologists uncovered the site and its remains, and a large-scale reclamation project was begun.
Archaeologists in Central Florida. Yeah. Yeah.
Discovering something that happened 30 years ago. In 1989, the new Pleasure Island was reopened and dedicated to the legacy of Meriwether Adam Pleasure with the motto, fun for all and all for fun.
Unless you're under 18.
Right. In which case you can go in sometimes before 7. Those are the other alls.
Those are the other alls.
Yeah. So these plaques were all over the place, and they have equally as intricate and crazy stories with each of these places that were at Pleasure Island. So the first one I'm going to talk about is a place called Mannequin's Dance Palace. So that place was mannequins when it opened and was mannequins the whole time. A lot of these other places changed into other things. Mannequins was kind of like at the heart of Pleasure Island. It was like a dance club. It started out, it seemed like, as like a 70s, not 70s, 80s dance music sort of club. And later into like the 2000s and late 90s was more of like a rave beat house music sort of situation.
Okay.
And Mannequin's Dance Palace and...
Did the mannequins dance?
Apparently there were some people that were kind of dressed up as mannequins.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And that seems kind of creepy.
Yeah.
And there were actual mannequins in there that were dressed up in sparkly and just fabulous clothing. And it was just like this big dance hall place with a kind of futuristic theme, life-size mannequins.
But if your dance moves are real stiff, you just say you're like in theme, right?
Yeah.
You're dancing like a mannequin.
Yeah. Was Mannequin the movie, a Disney movie?
Can you control?
Because, like, I associate that with Splash, and Splash was definitely a Disney movie.
I don't know.
But now I'm like...
I don't think it was.
I know, probably not. But, like, I feel like it came, like, those two movies are associated with me coming out, Mannequin and Splash. Splash was definitely...
Andrew McCarthy and Kim Cattrall.
Mm-hmm. Was it under... what was the adult-themed...
The Touchstone?
Yeah, Touchstone. Was it a Touchstone picture?
20th Century Fox.
Fox, okay.
It is now Disney.
It is now.
It was not Disney.
Yes, okay. So Mannequin has nothing to do with the movie Mannequin. But, like, it made me think of that. Also kind of a creepy idea of, like, well, like, are the mannequins going to come alive while I'm dancing to, you know, Prodigy? Or whatever it is.
Oh my.
Another one of those block rockin' beats. That's not Prodigy, but okay. So you just have like neon dance music, lasers and stuff later. Later does turn into, it closes in 2008, like a lot of things are going to close in 2008, and later turns into Morimoto Asia, which is there as of now. I don't know what's there when you're listening to this, but it later turned into Morimoto Asia. The other next club I'm going to talk about is the Neon Armadillo. The Neon Armadillo, this is a country western, as you could probably guess, is a country western sort of situation. And I'm going to talk a little bit. This one also had a crazy story too. So I wanted to talk about what the backstory was for the Neon Armadillo on here too.
I mean, those are armadillos that are obviously going to be the first ones hunted.
Right. They're gone. All right. So the Neon Armadillo, this is labeled, the plaque outside was labeled as the Greenhouse in 1927. Constructed to house the vast array of exotic desert plants collected by island founder, a globetrotter, and amateur cactologist Meriwether Pleasure. Pleasure regarded the greenhouse as his personal Eden. He nurtured his prickly pals, as he called them, with fanatical devotion. After Pleasure disappeared in 1941, his greenhouse was sealed off. When it was reopened in 1989, scientists discovered a huge and happy family of armadillos. The inhabitants were immortalized in neon by the island renovators.
So they were happy, but then they killed them? What happened? Are they dead?
I don't know. That's a good...
Why are they immortalizing a happy family?
I'm saying that they they relocated them and then put them in neon lights.
Probably,
as
yes.
Like, hey,
homage.
Yes,
okay.
an homage.
Okay, they're not actually...
Right, they put them on Discovery Island a long time ago.
I don't know why my brain went there.
But how crazy, like, these stories about these places are completely bonkers, and I love it. Like, this is just Imagineering being like, let's do something crazy. Mm-hmm. Let's put some crazy story behind this. People are just going to go in there and listen to card books.
But I mean, this would do so well today, I think. This would be another, one of the hide and seek things, like the Pirate's Treasure Hunt in Magic Kingdom. That is super fun, but is also super overlooked. But if you've got people that are repeat attendees, people that are coming back to the parks over and over again, they want something new to do.
Oh, yeah.
So we have done the Christmas tree scavenger hunt at Disney Springs, where you just walk around Disney Springs and make sure you find all the themed Christmas trees. So we would have loved to walk around and read all the plaques and try to get the story.
Oh, yeah.
But I tell you, I have been to Pleasure Island once in my life when I was 18.
Okay.
We didn't read a single plaque. We did not know. We did not care. We were excited that we could finally get in the door. It was also dark. You're also going there at night because you're not going to go to a club at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So, did they even light these plaques?
I have no idea.
No one. Who's going to pay to go into the club zone in daylight where you could read the plaques?
Yeah. So you didn't. So that's the thing. You didn't have to pay. You didn't have to pay before. So once they closed it off,
Okay.
You had to pay.
After a certain time of day.
Yeah, after a certain time of day,
charge.
you had to pay for that cover charge.
Okay.
And things like that.
That makes sense.
Later, they switched that as well, where you didn't have to pay to get into Pleasure Island at all, but you had to pay to get into certain clubs.
Sure.
So you had entry into some of the clubs you had to pay for. So you have Neon Armadillo, which is apparently an immortalized armadillo family. Has to do with that. It's country western nightclub. They used to actually like broadcast some of the stuff there, record some place. I think I'd actually read that some pretty famous people like Garth Brooks actually played at the Neon Armadillo, but it was a pretty small venue to get people to go there.
Mm-hmm.
So the Neon Armadillo was also, you have all these clubs, dance music, having like a country music sort of place, gave some diversity to the music that was going on there. Otherwise, you would have just heard like dance music.
Thumpa Thumpas, all over the island.
So later, that turned into the BET Soundstage Club.
Talk about a transition.
Yes. So you'll go from Neon Armadillo to the BET, Black Entertainment Television, sponsored dance club.
Did they leave the armadillos there while BET?
They were no longer immortalized.
Oh.
They were gone.
Somebody's got them in their garage.
So that brought some of that just new culture and things like that with BET Soundstage, and also featured some live performances and all that jazz too. More dancey.
When they did that, was there no more country presence at Pleasure Island?
No, not really. So there's one place that did that I'll talk about here in a little bit. Or what was that other place? There was a place called. I'll have to get that. I forget what it is. So goes into the BET Soundstage Club, and it ends up staying there until the sponsorship from BET goes away at some point, and just ends up being the Soundstage Club.
Yes.
And then that is kind of around where Maria and Enzo's is now.
Okay.
And Maria and Enzo's is pretty interesting. And if you go in there, it kind of looks like it could have been a club. So like it has this huge area with like these different levels on the side where you can just imagine that the dance floor is in the middle, and then you have, places for people to sit down and
I've never been in there, but I'm going to need to go in now.
Yeah, you go in there and you're like, this looks like it could have been a dance club. But that's what's there now. And then you have Videopolis East Cage, which you know some a little bit about, and 8 Tracks as the next place that's kind of over there. So Videopolis was one of the original Pleasure Island clubs, and it was originally the Artificial Intelligence Lab, and was used by Meriwether's son Henry. So this is another one of those ones. I got to find the plaque for it.
Artificial intelligence circa 1932? What?
Oh, yeah. No, this one's got another...
other ones are dated 1920, 19...
It's like it took a thing of its own, like its own life. That's crazy. So we have... Wait, just saw it. Artificial Intelligence Lab, 1929. This is the plaque outside. Built for island founder Meriwether Pleasure's son Henry, the mad genius of Lake Buena Vista. That was his...
Of course
he was. In Henry's life work, the Pleasure Cellular Automation. Henry died thinking his experiments in artificially intelligence. By the way, artificially intelligence is how it's written. Gotta feel. But when the building was reopened in 1987, the automation was alive and thriving.
Oh, okay.
In fact, it directed the refurbishing of its home and designed the sophisticated computer hardware that shows itself to best advantage. So, more or less, the crazy son thought his experiment had never worked, and it did, and the AI came to life. And
so this is Skynet.
Yes.
This was the Skynet Club.
Yes, Skynet Club. So
That's crazy.
Yeah, completely crazy. So in Videopolis,
I'm thinking of the technology of that time period.
yeah, like it's like it would be like this weird. So here's, I mean, obviously there's not a real story to this, but this is my story. This is my story that happens in my head with this. Is that, like, it starts out in 1929 as this like crazy steampunk sort of situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And somehow
Gears and
brass and all that
coaches.
yeah, all that stuff. All that stuff happens, and then later it evolves itself into, and it's kind of saying that. So there's like this whole hidden story of what's happened inside of this place for 50 years about it turning itself into a more sophisticated thing later. And then apparently directs the people that are building it and how it wants to be built.
Oh, so there's silence. We're talking about Star Yes. I would party with the silence.
Yep. Okay.
If I knew they wouldn't murder me, I would party with them.
Yeah. So this was a club featured kind of like new wave and alternative music in Videopolis. It was originally conceived as the East Coast cousin of Disneyland's Videopolis, was for guests under the age of 21. On April 7th, 1990, it became Cage. So this was one of those places where you could go and, if under 21, go in and party.
Yeah.
And then later it became Cage, which was, of course, formerly that Videopolis East. And honestly, from what I gather here too, that the way it looked didn't really change much from what it was when Videopolis to Cage, which had a bunch of monitors and TVs and cages. Maybe they added cages. I don't know if cages were part of the AI Videopolis thing, but it became Cage. Did you go to Cage?
Admittedly, I don't even know where we went. I'm pretty sure it wasn't Cage. I think we just went somewhere. See, when we went, it was pretty close to when it closed. Because, well, no, when did Pleasure Island close?
2008.
2008, so it was nowhere near that. I think we went sometime around 1999.
Okay.
Maybe 2001. My sister did the summer college program down there.
Okay.
And we went to pick her up and we spent a week down there. And that was the first time we had been there old enough to go to Pleasure Island.
That's cool.
So my parents stayed back and my sister and I went. This probably was 2001 because that was when I was just 18. I remember us being excited to give it a shot, and we went, and I remember paying at the gate. I remember not looking at a single plaque. I remember going to one of the dance clubs we could get in, and no one was dancing.
Oh,
there was no one there. We were probably there early because I was the tender age of 18 and didn't know how to club.
You're supposed to get there after, like, late.
Well, I know that now. Now that it's past my bedtime.
Right.
So I think we might have gone to the comedy club or like a piano bar and a dance club, but I remember us not being. It's also weird because it's in Florida and like we weren't interacting with anyone. And that's part of the whole purpose of going out as an adult is to talk to other people, not just talk to the person you're with. And it was just me and my sister. You got a 18-year-old and a 20-year-old. So
yeah. Well, when you're young like that too, I think you're still learning to be confident to do those sort of things too. Like, I don't know about you, but I felt that, well, I was definitely overconfident when I was young too. But like, I don't think I was confident enough to like really think about going out and making friendships and such with everybody until later when I was more sure of who I was. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So. Yeah,
no, I just remember feeling awkward and not knowing what to do because I wanted people to magically come up and talk to me. Because I was out in a club for the first time. Yeah. It didn't work. That's not how that happened.
So Cage was what happened there, and then later that turned into 8 tracks, spelled the number 8, TRAX, 8 tracks, and that was all 70s and some 80s music. Club sort of vibe there too, but obviously meant for older people now, and now a 21 sort of situation.
Okay.
So And 8 Tracks was also mostly, I think most of the time when I read stuff on here, people have said that it was 70s and 80s. But I looked on specifically on my thing here, it talks about 8 Tracks in here. And 8 Tracks only did 80s on Thursdays.
Oh.
So it says 8 Tracks described as the best music from the 70s. Thursday nights, it was 80s tracks. So they just added a 0 and
One
day a week.
One day a week.
80s tracks. So you had 8 Tracks was the place there. And actually, funny enough, when I went in 1998, that's when the BET place had just opened in 1998. So some of these places had just opened up when I was there. So BET Soundstage had just opened up in 1988. And when I was there, apparently, Goo Goo Dolls were playing. And some other bands and whatnot. And so, anyway, so you had 8 Tracks. That was kind of the 70s sort of club dance situation.
Yeah, I'm trying to picture what clientele would go to listen to 70s music at a club at Disney World.
Well,
I feel like that, maybe I'm naive, but that feels like a harder sell.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things like they're trying to, maybe they're like, oh, this is too young now. Now we need, but think about 70s. I mean,
you're trying to give something for everybody.
Yeah, a little bit of something for everybody.
But was that for anybody?
I mean, there was definitely in the 90s, there was definitely kind of like a 70s revival, bell bottom sort of thing.
There was. There
like
is that. And our generation, the revival has happened, and it was terrifying.
Yep.
When the 90s came back, and you're like, oh, no.
Oh, my. Oh, my. So, I don't think that there was, so for Videopolis East and 8 Tracks, that whole artificial intelligence, that was all in that same place. So that all has the same story of things. So there's another place. This is not a club now that we're talking about, but there's Superstar Studios, which more or less was a place you could go get like a music video made. So you like bring your family there and like be in a music video and take that home as a souvenir.
Yeah, that sounds
right. Fun. That's quick on that one, obviously. I was going to pull up the next one I want to talk about, and that is going to be the Comedy Warehouse. Has which was pretty interesting and is pretty cool. Was an opening day attraction there too, and later it became STK, which is there now.
Okay.
But Comedy Warehouse had this improv actors and different people there. There's some videos and such you can find on the YouTubes of some of the performances, and some of them are hilarious. Just making fun of Disney itself. Also, interestingly enough, too, using some of the same voices you hear throughout Walt Disney World. So, like, I can't remember his name. I should know this name. But the same guy who does the monorail voiceover and does I think part of Living with Land, and does the voice for
Jack Wagner.
Yeah, there you go. The voices of that are being used in some of the sketches. So they had him come and do some of the voiceover work for some of those things. Yeah. Now, at the one at Jack Wagner might be only the one at Disneyland. But anyways, they had some of the people there, which I thought was really funny. So you hear the same person that was doing the monorail spiel.
Matt Hansen replaced Jack Wagner, apparently, at some point.
Okay. And anyway, they made fun of themselves with how the supercalifragilistic. Did you listen to any of the There was
I watched some of them.
Some of it? Okay, so there was one song that they did, a super conscientious Disney World employee. It was like a supercalifragilistic sort of situation. And so, like, it was making fun of how cast members bend over backwards to help people have a good time.
Oh, like well, yeah, the one place where you can vocally complain about your job and not get fired. You can actually get a bonus for being vocally complaining.
Yeah. So
no, the video I saw was one where somebody started playing "It's a Small World" on the piano, and they basically they pretended they shot him, took him out. They said, "Not in this town."
Yeah.
We're not playing that.
They did all kinds of crazy things, like told people to go to other resorts, like suggested people. I think at some point they were like, "That's probably not a good idea." But,
Well, and I think if I remember, didn't they start with like actual acts and then it changed to improv because there were so many people coming back?
mm-hmm. Yep. It did start as it's kind of a strict comedy club and turned into an improv sort of situation. So it was really kind of the improv and comedy and all that stuff in the early 90s was kind of a thing.
Well, and I tell you what, the one thing that stood out to me when I watched that video is the set looked to me so much like the laugh floor.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Like it looks like when they designed the laugh floor, they kind of recreated that comedy stage.
That's cool. Yeah, I can dig that. I mean,
We'll have to look at them side by side.
yeah, for sure. But the thing is too, it was kind of the only game in town that came to improv. So when that place closed, like the improv actors and stuff like that had to find other things to do because there wasn't really anything else in Central Florida to do.
Oh.
You know, and I think a lot of those things that open and close, that's the place to be if you're trying to get a steady paycheck as a dancer or as a improv comedy dude or whatever it is, but those places close. So, but that's Comedy Warehouse there. The next one I'm going to talk about is Jessica's. Jessica's was, I think I mentioned just briefly, I think earlier, where Jessica's was one. Jessica Rabbit had this huge fluorescent moving leg sign thing that was part of Pleasure Island too. There was a big icon there, and she, for a short period of time, had her own store as well. From 1990 to 92, there was a two-sided 30-foot neon sign of Jessica Rabbit and a swinging leg and moving sequins on her red dress.
They don't look alike at all. I made that up.
Oh, they don't look alike.
I mean, I don't think they look dissimilar.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the stand-up sort of situation.
It is kind of standard stand-up.
Yeah. But they had some fun things kind of around there, too, like a bunch of, like, Disney nods and things like that, too. I think they had some Robin Hood nods and things like that there. Above the piano, I remember in the video they had, at least on the video we were watching, that they had the king, the phony king of England was above the piano. So I love that. So we have the Comedy Warehouse. I am curious to see what the plaque was. What was the story behind the Comedy Warehouse, which was the power station, 1912. This building became a storage facility when Pleasure Island was electrified in 1928. 6 years later, the power station became home to the Pleasure Island Thespian Players, founded by and featuring Isabella Pleasure.
Because they didn't need power anymore?
I guess not. I don't know. Wife of island founder and drama enthusiast Meriwether Pleasure. The players specialize in elaborate Central Florida historical pageants, including the Seminole Song of the Seminole.
Of course it was.
They were trying to make a joke there. They're like, how? See, it's funny. After Mrs. Pleasure's death in 1949, the building was closed and the players disbanded. Since its restoration by the Walt Disney Company, the site is again a warehouse storing strange notions, again, attractions, and ideas slightly ahead of their time. Okay. There you go. So, there you go. Meriwether has got his fingers in everything. Well, I mean, it's his island. He did own it.
Don't say that.
Okay. No, I'm not. I'll try to be funny
when
too.
We're thinking about his last name.
Yeah.
That's...
Don't want that. Yeah, you're right. I'm going to steer clear of that. Keep this PG-13. So then you have XZFR Rock and Roller Dome. So I've seen it. People
rolls right off the tongue.
Right, but I think it was actually Zephyr. Not very many people say it like that, but people say all the letters. But I heard in one thing somebody say Zephyr Rock and Roller Dome, which was only open for a year.
Well,
because it sounds like Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. So more or less, this place was a place where people could get roller skates, and listen to rock and roll music, and probably had a lot of lawsuits, I'd assume.
Was there a bar in the?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Drinking and roller skating. I mean, roller skates you can hit in the head with one of those things, or just break your leg.
On the plus side, Disney rented a lot more wheelchairs the next day.
That's true. That's very true. And I definitely want to read the craziness behind this one. So when that place first opened, it was that Zephyr Rock and Roller Dome, which again makes me think of just Mad Max or something going on. And this was Building X. Is what it was. It just disappeared. There we go. 1937, Building X. Island founder and UFO enthusiast. Why is he an enthusiast of everything? He's a man of many.
Probably because when you're rich, you can be an enthusiast to everything.
I like cactuses.
Let's buy a bunch.
I like theater.
Let's buy one.
I like a UFO.
Let's buy one.
Exactly. So, island founder and UFO enthusiast Meriwether Pleasure built his experimental X thing here. Pleasure himself designed this super amphibious aircraft that could harness the power of the wind. The X-Thing flew only once on September 1st, 1940, with Pleasure himself at the controls. The test flight is shrouded in mystery, but upon landing, Pleasure began broadcast to outer space. Beamed from the roof of this building, the International Morse code messages repeated. WELCOME. Welcome.
So wait a minute. He flew it?
He flew it.
So it was very identified.
So the idea, from what I understand on this plaque, is that because it was shrouded in mystery and it only flew once, is that he had some sort of encounter in space when he was flying this thing. And he came back and started broadcasting to space welcome in Morse code.
Okay. So but the flying object was not actually unidentified.
Yeah, it was definitely the X thing was a thing that he did, but I think it's implied that he encountered an unidentified flying object while he was on his X.
I wanted to roller skate with them.
I guess so. I don't understand the roller skating.
Well, I mean, they did the roller skating. He didn't.
Yeah. That was, so you had that Zephyr Rock and Roller Dome, the X thing flying through the space. The ground floor was a dance floor, and club goers could skate around on the second level and listen to a DJ suspended from the ceiling or in a booth and be served by cast members also on skates.
Oh, no.
So I assume that this place closed after a very short period of time due to lawsuits and injuries. And then became the Rock and Roll Beach Club.
Okay.
After that, with a beach-inspired decor, mostly rock performances, live performances and such. Kind of a fun fact there is NSYNC played their first live performance there.
Hey! I mean, a bunch of them were Mickey Mouse Club kids.
There you go. I guess it was some sort of like demo recording, like, let's see how you guys do live sort of situation. Right. So, yeah, NSYNC.
How many people can say I was there when?
Yeah, I was there when NSYNC played at the Rock and Roller Dome. Wait, what? Yeah.
A beach club.
Rock and Roller Beach Club.
Zephyr Rock and Roll Beach Club.
The Zephyr Rock and Roller Beyond Thunderdome. And kind of in that same area now is Jock Lindsay's.
You like Jock Lindsay?
Me too. The Indiana Jones place. Mm-hmm. The place is so cool. So many.
That's the problem. That's why there's so many places I haven't been at Disney Springs, because I really like the ones I really like.
Yep. It's hard to hit on. And I'm just going to briefly talk about a couple more. I'm not even going to talk about all of them here, because we could be here for
there were tons of them.
There's
right?
a ton. But we have to briefly talk about, because I feel like that we're going to come back to at some point the Adventures Club. Because at some point we're going to want to talk about Joe Rohde and things like that. And you're going to want to talk about the Adventures Club and other stuff with Joe Rohde.
Yeah. Animatronics even.
And yeah, oh my gosh, so many things. So Adventures Club was the, what kind of was unique about the Adventures Club is that all the other places were like taking place in present time. You step back in time to go to the Adventurers Club.
Love it.
So you would go in and people would pretend like you're there from the 1940s or whatever it is. And part of the Adventurers Club, set in actually in the early 30s, and designed to resemble a gathering place for world explorers, scientists, adventurers, all that stuff. And everybody who came there was like an honorary member of the Adventurers Club. The drink that we're making today and drinking, perhaps right now, perhaps not, is the Kungaloosh, which was like the cheers sort of thing that people would say there. And the place was really cool, brainchild of Joe Rohde. It had a bunch of themed rooms. It had like a mask room, a treasure room, a zebra mezzanine, the main room, the main lobby, saloon, library, all these different themes. And at first, it was kind of like you go in and you would have these encounters with cast members that were playing the part of a bunch of different people there. Some were butlers, some were like other adventurers coming by for the get-together, open house sort of thing.
And the Star Cruiser.
Yeah. Yes.
Like people are in cast and you interact with them and you can be your own character.
Yes, that's very similar like that. And then
Show meets Murder Mystery Party.
Right. But later it transformed into more of shows that were ongoing. So they would have a show where it was like a radio, being able to see a live radio broadcast of them, because the club was behind on its mortgage. They were having a fundraiser sort of thing to keep the place open or whatever it is. So that would be like the show that was going on while you were there. So
I remember one of the things I read about this was that one of the problems was that people loved it so much they would come in. I'm assuming there was a 1 drink minimum, and they would just nurse that 1 drink all night long because they just wanted to hang out there.
Yeah, I mean, I would want to hang out there. That's like, I think that's definitely, like I said, I'm not going to go too deep into the Adventurers Club because we definitely could do a whole section on the Adventurers Club.
It definitely looked very cool. Yeah. It's got kind of like Skipper Canteen Jungle Cruise vibe to me.
Yep.
And again, it's like the Star Cruiser a million years ago. It's, them giving you that experience. Why did they take it away? Why did this ever go away? Although, can you imagine the line for that today?
Oh, yeah. No, it's a big deal. So from that, I happen to have here in front of me an SEA, the Society of Explorers and Adventurers sort of plaque thing that I got for Christmas, which I was very excited about.
Everything has blown up so much at Disney World these days. I can only imagine how long it would take you to get into the door of that place.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it would be crazy. But they've kind of expanded the whole idea of the Adventurers Club into other things. So there's like some Adventurers Club themes throughout some of the international parks. Some of the things that are coming on some of the cruise lines with the new cruise ship that's coming out. Even with like some of the stories over at Disneyland, they opened up an SEA themed, the tree that used to be the Tarzan tree is now like a SEA themed thing there. So, which is all kind of has the vibes of that Adventurers Club thing, kind of like came from that. So, I don't know. Like I said, SEA/Adventurers Club could be a total.
Yeah, it'd be in South Bay.
Yep. And then last one I'm going to talk about, which was kind of fun and kind of crazy too, which I want to read the story for this one, is the Fireworks Factory, which was actually a barbecue restaurant. And so the Fireworks Factory, I got to find the plaque for this one. See here. Boop-a-doop-a-doo, finding the plaque. This is the song that you sing when you're finding the plaque. Okay, so the Fireworks Factory, 1922, fireworks laboratory and storage bunker. Island founder Meriwether Pleasure had a passion for pyrotechnics.
Of course he did.
Imagine that. He was an enthusiast of
another thing.
Of a thing. In 1922, he persuaded China's premier fireworks inventor, the Bang Master, to immigrate to Orlando. the master's lab and storage bunker were built in this spot, and for the next 4 years, Orlando citizens enjoyed stupendous Independence Day aerial displays. On July 3rd, 1927, a stray spark from Pleasure's pipe set off an explosion that was heard in Tampa, 82 miles away. Mrs. Pleasure insisted that the wreckage from the factory be preserved as a reminder of Pleasure's folly.
You could not name anything the Bang Master.
Especially
2020 anything.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Right next to the word pleasure.
Oh my sweet Zeus. There's no way. And now we wonder. I'm like, why did this close? This is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
So the fireworks factory, and there was another place that is now a bookhouse. What's the other? The steamboat place. It used to be Fulton's Crab, and then now it's
The Lily Bell.
All that place was all being ran by Levy Restaurants out of Chicago. So it's like some of these third-party places took over some of these places, and Fireworks Factory was one of those places. So the restaurant showed signs of the accident. The floor was stained with gunpowder and such. It was decorated with authentic firework props from a family fireworks manufacturer, and the restaurant advertised that it had dynamite food and explosive specials.
Yeah, they should have just made this a Muppets thing. They should have made it a Muppets, like a Gonzo, Swedish Chef, like totally, don't change anything.
Right.
Just put Muppet stuff in there. It would have been great.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure it was a barbecue place, and it would just became this restaurant that had really kind of cool theming if you look at the pictures of it, of like an exploded factory where your restaurant is, which is pretty fun.
But wasn't one of the big things at Pleasure Island that it was New Year's every night?
Yes. So that was one of the last things I was going to bring up here too, is that, so it didn't start out New Year's every night. So a very short period of time when it opened in 1989 to about April of 1990, the next year is kind of when it relaunched into that whole New Year's every night situation where they had live stages on the West End stage over there where they'd have music and the dancers in some scantily clad sort of clothing, dancing, doing New Year's every night. And then they would do confetti and music and make a big like thing of it down the whole street. And that kind of was like the cool thing to go to. The funny thing is though too, is that the midnight New Year's every night thing happened a lot of times at 11.
Oh, no.
Because they're like, you know what? People have been running around Disney. They probably want to get back.
It's New Year's on the ocean, so we're going to
yeah, somewhere out there. It's, yeah. Well, I guess if you're going to make a New Year's every night, it doesn't really, you're already doing something kind of crazy. You can make it any time too, I guess.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. It's New Year's somewhere.
But they had some pretty spectacular actual New Year's shows that they would do with big fireworks and things like that too. It looks like a lot of fun. They would do like I said, the confetti coming from the top and do the countdown and all that jazz. Was pretty cool too. So that was kind of, they had like the streetmosphere sort of situation going on with the New Year's every night thing. And then the clubs had their own theming and thing going on. So
I wish I could go. I wish.
Me too.
I mean, I know I was there, but I don't remember much, obviously, since I was like, I think I was in a dance club, baby. I don't even know where we went.
So just to wrap it up real quick here, in 2008, pretty much everything kind of closed. And in late 2010, Disney announced that Pleasure Island would be rebranded as Hyperion Wharf. So it was something that never actually happened. And in 2014, kind of opened up as, or started the big thing there now, which is Disney Springs, which is fantastic. I love Disney Springs.
But I wish there was more partying. It'd be fun.
Yeah.
It'd be fun. I don't know. I mean, just think of the lines and the experience you get at Trader Sam's.
Oh yeah.
People are standing in line for hours for that or not going. I mean, that there's definitely an audience for that level of interaction experience.
Oh yeah.
Adults only. I mean, you're in a park all day.
Right.
Sometimes you
Gotta get
want to
out.
not be around the kids.
Yeah.
Or
They've got, I mean, there are certain things. They've got some stages and stuff like that. Actually, the one pretty happening. Oh, I didn't talk about the one thing, which I don't know if I wrote down here. Did I write it down? So late in the whole Pleasure Island thing was a little restaurant opened and called what's the Irish? Raglan's.
Raglan Road.
Raglan Road was there, opened up, and is still there now.
I love Raglan Road.
Raglan Road. So that was kind of part of the whole Pleasure Island thing, and is still there today.
I can see that. Yeah.
So Raglan Road was kind of a cool place too. It still is a good place. Great food there too.
Mm-hmm.
And I was gonna say over by Jock Lindsay's, they still have some of those outdoor stages and things like that. But over there, the one over by Jock Lindsay's seems to be like the party kind of area to me every time I'm there later in the night. So, boom.
Fun.
Pleasure Island.
Pleasure Island. So I got this old map
Oh yeah, that's cool.
that shows it's got the Neon Armadillo, Zephyr Rock and Roll Beach Club. This was Beach Club time.
Okay.
Mannequins.
Does it say Zephyr?
It does.
So,
Zephyr Rock and Roll Beach Club.
Oh, I didn't know that was part of the name still. Interesting. I want to pull out my last thing. Oh yeah, my 1998 one here too. I can see what it says on here.
I can't believe you kept it.
Yeah, it's in my mom kindly had made these sort of things. Yeah, just Rock and Roll Beach Club here in 1998.
Oh, okay.
By 1998, you have the BET Soundstage, the Adventurers Club, Comedy Warehouse, 8 Tracks, Mannequins Dance Palace. Oh, Pleasure Island Jazz Company, which was the place that was opened up. Another one that opened up later that was playing jazz and live music and stuff like that. And I'm pretty sure that's the place where Raglan's came in later.
Mm-hmm.
Portobello Yacht Club, there, Fulton's Crab House, Rock and Roll Beach Club, Waterfront Stage, West End Stage, Wild Horse Saloon.
Oh.
So there's your new, there's the
There
new
it
country
is.
place right there, which I didn't talk about. Midway Games, shopping is happening between 10:30 and 2 a.m. So this place is open pretty late too. The Avigator Supply, Changing Attitude, Streetwear for guys and girls. DTV, Disney Character Merchandise, Island Depot, Music Legends, Disney Villain Merchandise and Collectibles, Real Finds, Collectibles for the Stars, Suspended Animation, Disney Animation Cells, posters, and lithos.
They used to sell Disney animation cells.
Most of the thing, I know you're into that.
Mm-hmm.
Superstar Studios, which is a make-your-own music video sort of thing, and the cleverly named Desserts.
Mm-hmm.
Cappuccino, espresso, something sweet, and Missing Link. So all part of Pleasure Island.
So what's it gonna be? What is Disney Springs' next thing gonna be? Another 30 years.
No.
Who knows?
Pleasure Island again?
I'd be okay with that.
All right, there we go.
There was your fast and furious history of Pleasure Island. If
Yeah.
only we could have all gone there. Thanks for giving us all that, Kyle.
Yeah, it was super fun. It's something that I always kind of wished I could go to too. And I tell you what, I can't wait till we start talking a bit more about the Adventurers Club. That's the one I really wanted to go to the most out of all of them, for sure. So,
All those people that would go there and nurse a drink all night just so they could hang out.
yeah, those people. I wanted to be one of those people. We're obviously tying this into drinking with Dumbo and Disney characters drinking. So that's going to be our next episode, right?
Yeah, let's find out how the drinking happens on screen in animation.
Yeah, there's a lot more than you think.
There it is.
And I'm saying it right now, I'm calling it most comprehensive, best researched version of Disney characters drinking.
Oh geez, no pressure.
We'll see. All right, we'll see you there.